The hunt ends at the border. Corvin Towel had been running for 3 years. He was good at it. Better than most. He had slipped through blockades, bribed station masters, and burned entire outposts to cover his tracks. Across the outer rim, his name was whispered in the same breath as death. 12 colonies. Thousands dead. No survivors left to testify. The bounty on his head had grown so large that entire fleets had formed just to chase him. And now, finally, he had found sanctuary. Corvin stood on the bridge of his stolen freighter, staring at the glowing boundary on the navigation screen. Beyond that line was human space, Terran territory, a young species barely 2 centuries into the galactic community. They had no grand fleets, no ancient alliances, no reputation for war. Perfect. Set course, Corvin growled to his navigator, a thin Vrelian with too many arms. Take us across. The navigator hesitated. Captain, the Terrans don't. I don't care what they don't do, Corvin snapped. They're primitives. They won't even know we're there. The ship lurched forward, crossing the invisible line that separated the lawless outer rim from Earth's claimed systems. Behind them, the pursuit stopped. Commander Atherus of the Kale Syndicate watched Corvin's ship vanish across the border. Her claws tightened on the command rail, frustration radiating through her sleek, scaled frame. He's in Terran space now, her tactical officer said quietly. I can see that, Atherus hissed. For 3 years, she had chased Corvin. She had been there when he massacred the colony on Dreth 4. She had sworn an oath to bring him to justice. And now, at the last moment, he had slipped through her fingers. We could follow, the tactical officer suggested. The Terrans might not even notice. Atherus turned sharply. No, but no one crosses into Terran space without permission, Atherus said. Her voice was cold. Not even us. The officer frowned. They're just humans. They've barely been in the galaxy for 200 years. Atherus interrupted. And in that time, they've ended for border conflicts, dismantled 2 pirate cartels, and erased an entire rogue AI fleet without asking for help. They don't negotiate. They don't posture. They act. She paused, her eyes still fixed on the screen where Corvin's ship had disappeared. And when they act, there's nothing left to argue about. The bridge fell silent. Recall the fleet, Atherus finally said. We wait. Corvin's ship drifted through the void, engines dimmed, sensors passive. He had expected patrols. He had expected challenges, but there was nothing. Just empty space and distant stars. See, Corvin said, leaning back in his chair. I told you, these humans are soft. The navigator didn't respond. His many hands trembled slightly over the controls. 3 hours passed. Then the alarms screamed. What Corvin shot forward, staring at the readouts. What is that? Unknown contact, the navigator stammered. No heat signature, no emissions. It just ... appeared. On the view screen, a ship materialized. Not slowly, not with the gradual shimmer of a warp exit. It was simply there, as if it had always been there, waiting. It was black, completely black. No lights, no markings. Just a smooth, angular hull that seemed to drink in the starlight around it. Hail them, Corvin ordered. The navigator tried. No response. Weapons. Corvin barked. Charge weapons, and the ship's systems died. All of them, life support. Engines, weapons, communications, everything went dark in an instant. Emergency lights flickered on, casting the bridge in a sickly red glow. What did they do? Corvin whispered. The navigator's voice cracked. I don't know. There's no weapon signature. No pulse. They just ... turned us off. Corvin felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. A new sound filled the bridge. A low, rhythmic thud. Metal on metal, boarding. Lock the doors. Corvin shouted. Seal the bridge. But the door didn't lock. Instead, it hissed open. 3 figures stepped through. They wore black armor, smooth and seamless, with helmets that reflected nothing. No insignia, no rank, no names. They moved with perfect synchronization, weapons raised but not firing. One of them spoke. The voice was human, male, calm. Corvin Tal, you are under Terran jurisdiction, Corvin snarled. You have no authority over me. The human tilted his head slightly. We do now. Corvin lunged for his sidearm. He never reached it. The humans moved like shadows. One moment Corvin was reaching. The next, he was on the ground, arms locked behind his back, cold metal restraints biting into his wrists. He struggled, roared, threatened. The humans said nothing. They simply dragged him away. Back at the border, Commander Atharis received a transmission. It was short, no video, just a single line of text from Terran Command. Target acquired. Do not enter our space. Atharis stared at the message for a long time. Then she smiled. Recall the fleet, she said again. We're done here. Her tactical officer looked confused. But we didn't catch him. No, Atharis said. But someone did. She thought about the rumors, the whispers, the stories that spread through the black markets and hidden stations. Stories about a place where criminals disappeared. A place with no courts, no trials, no records. A place called Vault-Null.Korven. Tal was gone, and the galaxy would never see him again. The demand, the message reached the Galactic Council 3 days later. It wasn't a formal complaint. It wasn't a diplomatic protest. It was a demand, broadcast on every major frequency across the sector, signed by 17 different bounty syndicates, 3 independent hunter guilds, and to sovereign governments. Surrender Corvin Tal to lawful custody, or face consequences. The council chamber fell silent when the message played. Ambassador Telric of the Avon Collective was the first to speak. His voice was smooth, practiced, the voice of someone who had spent centuries negotiating treaties. This is unprecedented, he said carefully. The Terrans have taken custody of a criminal wanted across 6 systems. By rights, he should be returned to whom? Interrupted Ambassador Yara Chen. She stood at the human delegation's podium, her expression calm but her eyes sharp. She was young by galactic standards, barely 60, but she had earned her reputation quickly. Humans always did. To whom should we return him? Yara repeated. The Kale Syndicate, the Vrelian Justice Courts, the Outer Rim Coalition. All of you want him. None of you could catch him. Telric's crest flared slightly. That does not give Earth the right to. He entered our space, Yara said flatly. That gives us every right. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates nodded. Others hissed or clicked in disapproval. Telric leaned forward. Ambassador Chen, please understand. This is not about jurisdiction. This is about precedent. If every species begins abducting criminals from others' territories, we didn't abduct him, Yara interrupted. He came to us, uninvited, unlawfully, and we dealt with him. How? Telric pressed. Where is he now? What trial will he face? What court will hear the evidence? Yara's expression didn't change. That's classified. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted over one another in a dozen different languages. Security drones descended from the ceiling, projecting calming frequencies. It took nearly a minute for order to return. Telric's voice was cold now. Ambassador, you cannot simply classify the fate of a criminal wanted by half the galaxy. We can, Yara said. And we have. She tapped her console. A hologram appeared above the chamber floor, a map of Terran space, bordered by red warning lines. Corvin Tal entered our territory illegally, Yara continued. He committed no crimes on our soil, but he brought his crimes with him. Under Terran law, we have the authority to detain any individual who poses a clear and present danger to galactic stability. That's not galactic law, someone shouted from the back. Asterisk, it's our law, Yara said, and it applies in our space. Telric's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. And if we refuse to accept this? Yara met his gaze. Then don't enter our space. The bounty fleets gathered at the border within a week. Commander Atharis watched them assemble from her command deck. 17 ships at first, then 30, then 50. Some were sleek corporate hunters. Others were battered mercenary frigates. A few were military escorts from governments, hoping to curry favor with the syndicates. All of them wanted Corvin, or rather, all of them wanted to be seen wanting Corvin. They're not going to attack, her tactical officer said quietly. No, Atharis agreed. But they're going to threaten. And they did. The demands came in waves. Formal, informal, polite, aggressive. All of them said the same thing: surrender, Corvin Tal, or we will take him. The humans didn't respond. Not at first, Captain. Jonas Mercer stood on the bridge of the TRNS Silent Verdict, one of Terran Command's Black Ops strike ships. Around him, his crew worked in near silence, their movements efficient and practiced. Status? Jonas asked. 53 hostile vessels at the border, his sensor officer reported. No weapons hot, no shields raised. They're posturing. For now, Jonas said. He pulled up the tactical display. The enemy fleet was spread across a wide line just outside Terran space. They weren't in formation. They weren't coordinated. They were a mob, not an army. Good orders from command. Jonas asked. His communications officer nodded. Operation Ghost Protocol is approved. We are weapons-free for electronic warfare and non-lethal suppression. Jonas smiled faintly. No casualties? No casualties, the officer confirmed. Then let's send a message. The first ship lost power at 0200 hours, Galactic Standard Time. It was a Vrelian cruiser, positioned near the center of the fleet. Its engines simply ... stopped. No explosion. No warning. The ship went dark, drifting silently in the void. Panic spread through the fleet. What happened? Someone shouted over the open channel. Unknown, came the reply. We're trying to. Another ship went dark. Then another dot within 10 minutes. Half the fleet was dead in space. Commander Atharis watched from a safe distance, her sensors recording everything. She saw the patterns, the precision, the invisible hand that reached out and shut down ship after ship without firing a single shot. Terran jamming Her tactical officer whispered, "It has to be. It's more than jamming," a theorist said. "They're inside their systems." As if to confirm her words, a new transmission appeared across every ship's screen. It was simple. No video, no voice, just text. "Leave Terran space. This is your only warning." Some ships turned. Immediately, others hesitated, and then the humans showed them what happened to those who hesitated. The bounty hunter, known as Relk the Scarred, was one of the stubborn ones. He had spent 20 years chasing criminals across the galaxy, and he wasn't about to be scared off by primitives. "Reroute auxiliary power," he barked at his engineer. "We're not leaving." His ship's systems flickered, struggling against whatever the humans had done. But slowly, power returned. Engines hummed back to life. Relk grinned. "See? They're not so." His view screen turned red. A targeting lock, strong, unbreakable. Relk's blood ran cold. A voice came over his cums. Human, male, calm. "This is Tehran Defense Grid Station 7. You have 10 seconds to reverse course." Relk looked at his weapons. Console, empty. His missiles were gone. His railguns were offline. Even his point defense turrets were unresponsive. "How did you 5 seconds?" Relk slammed his hand on the controls. His ship spun hard, engines screaming as he burned away from the border at maximum speed. Behind him, a dozen other ships did the same by dawn. The fleet was gone. Commander Atheris watched the last ship vanish from her sensors. The border was empty again, silent. What did they do? Her tactical officer asked quietly. Atharis didn't answer right away. She thought about the black ships that had appeared and disappeared without a trace. She thought about the systems that had been shut down without a single weapon fired. She thought about the precision. "The control, they reminded us." Atharis finally said that humanity doesn't play by our rules. Then whose rules do they play by? Atharis turned away from the screen. Their own. What lies in Voltnal Corvin Toll woke in silence. Not the silence of sleep. Not the silence of peace. The kind of silence that pressed against the ears, heavy and absolute, as if sound itself had been erased. He tried to move. His body responded, but slowly, as if submerged in water. He was sitting in a chair, no restraints, no chains in, a room with no visible walls. Everything was white. The floor, the ceiling, the space around him blurred at the edges, impossible to measure. "Where am I?" Corvin's voice came out rough, dry dot. No answer. He stood, walked forward. After 10 steps, he reached a barrier knot, a wall, but something that pushed back gently, stopping him without force. He tried another direction. Same result. A cage without bars. "Let me out." Corvin roared. The silence swallowed his words. Then a voice, clear, female, human. "Corvin, Tau, Warlord, 12 colony massacres. Estimated death toll, 8,473 individuals." Corvin spun, searching for the source. There was nothing. No speaker, no screen. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You have been detained under Terran Containment Protocol 7, the voice continued. "This facility is There is no trial. There is no appeal. You will remain here until the end of your natural life." Corvin laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. "You can't do this. I have rights. The Council has no authority here. the voice said. You entered Terran space. You are ours now. I'll escape, Corvin snarled. I've escaped before. No one escapes, Voltnol. The white room shifted. Images appeared on the walls, or where walls should be. Faces, hundreds of them, thousands. The people Corvin had killed. Men, women, children, every face stared at him with empty eyes. This is what you brought with you, the voice said. This is what you cannot escape. Corvin looked away, but the faces followed. They surrounded him, silent witnesses. Turn it off, Corvin screamed. The faces vanished, the silence returned, and Corvin Tal was alone, 3,000 light-years away. Ambassador Yara Chen sat in her private office aboard the Terran diplomatic station. The room was small, practical, decorated only with a single painting of Earth's moon rising over the Pacific. A secure terminal blinked on her desk. She accepted the call. Director Marcus Voss appeared on the screen. He was a broad man with grey hair and the tired eyes of someone who made difficult decisions daily. He led Terran's strategic operations, the division that officially didn't exist. Ambassador, Voss said, the fleets have dispersed. I heard, Yara replied. No casualties. None. Ghost Protocol worked exactly as designed. We shut down their systems, locked their weapons, and sent them running without firing a shot. Yara nodded slowly, and Corvin, secured in Level 7 containment. He'll never see another living soul. Yara was quiet for a moment. The Council is demanding a hearing. They want transparency. They want access. What did you tell them? That Voltnol is classified Terran infrastructure, and they have no jurisdiction. Voss smiled faintly. How did they take that? Poorly, Yara admitted. Ambassador Telric threatened sanctions. The Varelian delegation walked out. Half the council thinks we're becoming tyrants, and the other half. Yara's expression hardened. The other half is relieved. They're tired of criminals running to border zones and vanishing into legal grey areas. They're tired of jurisdictional fights that let monsters go free. They won't say it publicly, but privately. They're glad we did what they couldn't. Voss leaned forward. Do you think they'll push harder? Some will, Yara said. But most won't risk it. We proved something today, Marcus. We proved that humanity doesn't just draw lines, we enforce them. And if they test us again... Yara met his gaze through the screen. Then we remind them why no one crosses into Terran space uninvited. Commander Atheris received a private message 2 weeks later. It came through a secure the kind used for intelligence sharing and unofficial communication. No signature. No origin point. Just a single file. She opened it. Inside was a detailed report. Corvin Tal's crimes. His victims. His movements over the last 3 years. And at the bottom, a single line. Justice has been served. He will harm no one else. Atheris read it twice. Then she deleted it. Her tactical officer noticed. Ma'am, was that important? Atheris turned to the viewport, watching the stars beyond. No, she said quietly. It was confirmation of what Atheris thought about the human ships that had appeared and disappeared like ghosts. She thought about the precision, the control, the message that some species don't just chase criminals, she said. They end them. In the Galactic Council chamber, the debate raged for weeks. Some demanded action. Some called for embargoes. Some wanted humanity expelled from the Council altogether. But no one voted for war, because deep down, every species in that chamber knew the truth. Humanity had done what they all wished they could do. They had taken a monster out of the galaxy without negotiation, without politics, without the endless legal battles that let criminals slip through the cracks. They had drawn a line, and they had enforced it. Ambassador Telric stood before the council one final time, his voice measured and diplomatic. "The Terran action sets a dangerous precedent," he said, "but it also sets a clear one. Humanity has claimed responsibility for what happens in their space. They have accepted the burden of enforcement, and while we may not agree with their methods, he paused, we cannot deny their effectiveness." The chamber was silent. Yara Chen watched from the human delegation's seat, her expression unreadable. The vote came 3 days later. No sanctions, no expulsion, no retaliation. Instead, the council passed a single resolution. Member species are advised that Terran space operates under independent jurisdiction. Entry without authorization is not recommended. It was the closest thing to approval humanity would get, and it was enough. Corvin Towel sat in his white prison, alone with his thoughts and his ghosts. He had stopped screaming weeks ago, stopped pacing, stopped planning escape. There was no escape. There was only silence, and the knowledge that he had made one final mistake. He had run into human territory believing they were weak. Instead, he had learned what the rest of the galaxy already knew. Humanity didn't protect criminals, they erased them. And once you crossed into their domain, you never left far beyond the border in the deep black of space. A Terran patrol ship drifted silently. On its hull, barely visible, was a single phrase in a dozen galactic languages: "Here monsters end." And across the galaxy, the message was heard. Humanity had spoken, not with threats, not with weapons, but with action, and the stars remembered.